Do you wish you could get more done in less time? Are you ready to have better conversations? Could you use some happiness tips? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then you're in the right place. Our speaker today is the author of 4 books, runs 3 companies, is the mom of 2, and wife to only 1. When she's not on a plane or speaking on a stage, she enjoys being on the bleachers, watching her kids play basketball or volleyball, or on the couch, watching 80s movies. Here to help us lead happy, high-performing lives, please join me in welcoming from Provo, Utah, speaker, author, and wannabe exercise lover, Michelle McCullough.
I believe there are 2 kinds of people in this world. Those with willpower and those with taste buds. The people who say nothing tastes as good as thin fields have not eaten the things I have eaten. Food is my favorite. I use it for medicating and celebrating. And it is one of those things that makes me absolutely the happiest, obviously. So, my question for you is, what makes you the happiest? What makes you shine? What makes you come alive? For me, it's everything from 80s movies and music, and hearing my kids and my husband laugh, to simple daily pleasures like enjoying the sunset or the sunrise. So if I'm up before the sunrise, you might not hear so many happy things coming out of my mouth. That's what I'd like you to think and ask yourself a question in this moment, right now, on a scale from 0 to 10. 0 being not at all happy, and 10 being the happiest you've ever been. How would you rate today on a scale from 0 to 10? Now, I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands, but I am going to ask you this question. What would it take to make you a 10? And if you had the opportunity, would increased levels of happiness in your life improve your personal and professional life a little or a lot? So I am going to ask you to answer this question. No one knows what your number is, but how many of you think that increased levels of happiness would not change your life at all? Okay, how many of you think increased levels of happiness would change your life a little? How many of you think increased levels of happiness would change your life a lot? So look around. It's so interesting that as speakers and trainers and leaders and innovators, we still want to have more happiness in our lives. As kids, we're taught from a really young age that you'll be happy if you pass this test and study real hard. You'll be happy if you pass your driver's ed exam and you'll be able to drive. You'll be happy if you find friends that will play with you during lunch. And you'll be happy if you do all these things. As adults, it doesn't change. You'll be happy if you graduate from high school, go to college, find someone that you can marry. And we start to put happiness as something that happens after, rather than something that happens now. Now, you're all enlightened, and most of you are happy people, and you probably choose happiness every day. But today we're going to be talking about some happiness tips that I think help whether you feel monumentally happy or whether you'd like to improve in this area. Now, I want to start by telling you a story about what happened a couple of years ago. My family had just finished listening to the book Wonder, and so we were looking forward to watching the movie. My daughter's birthday was coming up, so we had crafted this plan to watch the movie for her 7th birthday. And it was a big deal. We had talked about it for months. Finally, the day comes, my mom goes and gets us tickets, we show up a little bit late. But that's okay, because we have assigned seats. As we're walking in, there is someone sitting in our seats. And I start to get all kinds of panicky and fumed. And I see my little girl's face as she starts to stress just a little. And so I go up to the woman and I say, "Excuse me, you're in our seats." And she's like, "No, I'm not." And she goes back to watching the movie. And I was like, "See, you're in our seats." I show her my ticket and I say, "See, we're on C, D, E, and F. The best seats in the house because you get to put your feet on the bar, right?" And she was like, "Those were for 10 a.m., it's 1 p.m. And I was like, "Oh, thanks so much, enjoy your movie." And I looked at the tickets, and sure enough, we had bought tickets for the wrong time. I had said first showing of the day, assuming that was 1, and they actually had a 10 a.m. showing. So mistake, problem. Now I am panicking, and my little girl's little quiver is starting to turn into actual tears, and I know I need to solve this problem stat. So I tell everyone to go sit in the luxury seats where no one is sitting because they cost them $1 trillion. And I say, okay, I'm gonna go see if I can work this out. Maybe there's another showing in 30 minutes and we can just watch it. It's happening every 30 minutes. Of course I get up there, all the seats are taken. But if I want, I can double my price and pay for the luxury seats. I love my daughter and her birthday, and I could not see her cry, so I shelled out another ridiculous amount of money, paid the lady, and then went back and told everyone, enjoy your luxury seats. My daughter was thrilled. She was in the middle of two uncles, flanked on both sides. My other son was over here. My husband and I were over here with grandma, and she beamed for the rest of the time. This was the first time my brother had ever had luxury seats. So at the end, he was like, I don't think I could ever go to a movie again without luxury seats. And then my sweet 9-year-old says the following, those were luxury seats? No one told me. And I went, ugh. Emoji face palm in case you need that. Because I could not imagine that I had just paid for something that he did not use. But he was so caught up in the story and all the things that were going on that he didn't even notice that the seats were different, that they were cushier, that they were luxury, that there was more space. He was just watching the movie that was going on behind him. Do we ever get so caught up in our own stories that we miss the luxuries of happiness that are all around us and the opportunities that we have to feel happy despite our challenges? Now, I know some of you are out there saying, oh, sure, Michelle, I can do that, but you don't know the challenges I'm facing. I have this, I have that, I have this. And if you knew, I just couldn't be that happy. I couldn't be a 10. Why not? Even in the midst of our biggest challenges and our biggest stories, we can find happiness every day. You've all heard of the pessimist who looks on the bad side, and the realist who sees things as they really are, and the optimist who looks on the bright side. We're told to be the optimist everywhere we go, to look on the bright side. When I became an adult, I found that being the optimist wasn't enough. I could look on the bright side, but it still didn't feel good. And so I have found that there's one level beyond the optimist that we all need, and that is called being the happiest. Happyist. The happiest doesn't just look on the bright side, they live there. They look for happy things that happen every single day to preserve you, even in the times of challenge. And if that doesn't work, consider starting your day with something super positive, or using the art of the pause. We talk about that in speaking all the time, that when you talk, every now and again you should pause. Something I really struggle with, obviously. And yet the rest of us can remember what it is to pause because we watch movies. We know what it's like to pause and go back and do something again. And so in those moments that challenge your happiest the most, give yourself permission to pause. Remind yourself to be unoffendable, as my friend Brad Barton once taught me. To not let other people be the villains of our story, and to choose to be the hero of our own story every single day. And as you choose to be undefendable, it can be really hard because in the day-to-day of life, there are people out there challenging your happiness, whether they're cutting you off, whether they're snarky in the store, or whether they're just trying really hard to challenge you in some way, shape, or form. And yet, sometimes we make their stories our stories. So ask yourself, why am I giving them permission to be the villain of my story? Or better yet, what is it costing me to be right? If you can ask yourself that simple question, you might find it will be easier for you to not just look on the bright side, but to actually live there. You have one life to live. Don't waste it on being a 4 or a 5. Make it the happiest.
Yeah!